welcome back to another book talk. Today I'm going to be talking about Under the Surface by Diana Urban. Guys, strap in because this one was a roller coaster of emotions. My rating is a 9.8 out of 10, and as per usual, if you don't want to get spoiled, I suggest you stop watching right now. Otherwise, let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all, shall we? You guys, oh my gosh. I was hooked on this book. And to know that a lot of these things were based off of true events had me even more hooked. I will say, I fell into a rabbit hole of what was actually true and not true of this book, especially after the ending, because I there were things I still needed to know and I wasn't fully satisfied with, as in Julian's ending. Yeah. I I went into this rabbit hole of what is based off of true events. So things the based off of true events was there were two teenagers that got lost in the catacombs of Paris and were rescued after 3 days of being trapped under in the catacombs. So that was an actual thing that happened. That was what a lot of this was based off of. So I that is insane to think about, to be underground for 3 days. And what what means that they didn't really have anything. To survive 3 days in underground. I would have gone crazy. I don't know how they did it, but that is the basis of this entire book. It's just these four girls. They go and with this seemingly we know he's a native and seemingly a cataphile. He's a cataphile. The reason I remember that because one of them thought she had said pedophile, but she didn't. It's cataphile. It goes with this cataphile, which we later find out is not a cataphile. And I had this inkling that he wasn't who he said he was, or that he knew more. Did I think he was part of this cult? Not until halfway through the book did I start to think that maybe he was part of the cult himself. But did I think that he knew about this cult? Yes, I did. I thought that that Julian was reacting the way he was reacting because he didn't want them to be scared and to leave and not enjoy themselves. And then it turns out that it's actually because he was part of the cult and he regretted bringing them and wanted to leave and not have them get, offed. Or not have them get offed. I had this weird feeling about Val throughout the entire book. She just rubbed me the wrong way. I hated how much she pressured Ruby into things she didn't want to do. And then Selena was I was a little weird. And then Olivia, I adored Olivia. If you've ever watched Miraculous, I kept picturing her as, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name, but the one with the dog, Miraculous. Now I can't remember her. I can't remember the other girl's name. Queen Bee's little minion person. I picture her kind of along the lines of that. And I felt so bad for her and that she got dragged into all of this. I don't know why I was shocked and surprised that people actually died in this book. I think that these deaths were necessary, and I think that it added to the story and to the trauma of everything, and I don't think it would have been the same without these deaths. So, I shed a few tears when Olivia died. I thought she was going to make it. I didn't. If all the people that I wanted to die, I didn't want Olivia to die. I wanted it just to be Val. I think that she just she was the instigator. She is the reason that they were all trapped underneath, because she pressured Ruby and then she gaslit Selena and Olivia into going underground with them. And God, she was such a terrible human being. And she just constantly was gaslighting Ruby. That was a terrible friendship. And I didn't think it was going to survive after the catacombs, which, not that it really mattered considering Val didn't make it to the end either. And I remember I was sitting in the car thinking, if anybody else is gonna die, it should be Val, because she has been such a terrible person. She lied to everybody. She is the reason Selena and Ruby were no longer friends, or haven't been friends for the last year. She manipulated everybody. Jesus Christ, can we just get rid of her already? And I gasped, audibly gasped, and was so shook when she did die. And I think it just was the brutality and swiftness or quickness of her death that caught me off guard, because one minute she was there, she was talking, and then the guy came up and she was all cocky giggles with a little hint of scared in her eyes, and then suddenly bang, literally her head against the wall, and she was no longer alive. And the guy said he didn't mean to kill her, but is anybody really that upset that she's dead? I don't think so. And her parents, that's the thing that sucked about Val, is everything she did was for attention because her parents neglected her. And just, was there a little part of me that was kind of, not that I liked, but it felt gratifying to see how her parents mourned Val, because they never paid her attention when she was alive, and finally in her death they're giving her some sort of attention. And it's just sad that it had to lead to that for them to give her attention. But also it sucks that that's how Val decided to live her life, because she didn't get attention. But I think that just because of your parents were shitty doesn't mean you have to be a shitty person. It's the same way that I think that just because your parents beat you when you were a kid doesn't mean you have to beat your kids when you have kids. So you ultimately are very much in control of who you want to be. If you hated how much you were neglected, you should have used that to love people, but love them in the right way, not manipulate them, because that's not love. So Val was a very problematic character, and I think a lot of people kind of had a struggle with, should I sympathize with her or not? Yeah, I think people kind of struggled with sympathizing with her, but also wanting her dead. But it was one of those things where she was annoying, but did she have to die? I don't think anybody deserves to die. I just wish she would shut up. It's a story, so it's fiction, so yeah, I guess she had to die. I didn't really shed a tear for her. I didn't feel bad for her. I felt bad for Olivia. Olivia's hurt. Olivia really hurt. And I really thought, I started to cry when I thought Ruby was dead. I believed it for a few seconds that she died, and that was rough. There were tears. I wanted her to be alive so freaking bad. But I love the juxtaposition of her, I can't remember, her love interest getting his point of view and then getting Ruby's point of view, and just everything that's happening above ground versus everything happening below ground. I think that juxtaposition was really well written. And then I liked how everything just came together in the end. And yeah, beautifully written. I think the thing that just really irked me the most about this book was the ending. Julian's story hurt. I think he was definitely lied to. He was completely manipulated, and I don't think he deserved to die. And I hate that that's the inclination that was given, was just that he's going to die, because now his sisters have been put into foster care, and I don't know if they're going to be separated, and I just wish I had more knowledge about his sisters and what their life is going to look like now, with Julian potentially brain dead at this point. I loved his character because it was such a good gray area of just morality, a fight of morality. Just what do I do? Because these are nice people, but I want my sisters to be alive. And his character probably is my favorite, just because of how gray and how indecisive, or how hard everything he did, all of his choices were. He was an incredibly complex character, even though we didn't get his point of view. I absolutely loved his character, which is why I hated the ending, and I hated that he was in a coma, and I hated how I felt like there was so many questions I still had unanswered at the end, even though they were all answered. I wanted more for Julian. I definitely wanted more for Julian. But anyways, I'm out of time. What did you guys think about this book? I was in love with it, obviously. I loved every second of it. I've been trying to convince everybody around me to read it because it was so good for me. But anyways, what did you guys think? And I'm going to stop because I'm out of time, so I'll talk to you guys later.